The galaxy was never quiet. Signals from countless worlds crossed the stars every second. Music, news, military orders, trade negotiations. Even the laughter of children could be heard if someone listened closely. But among them all, the voice of Earth was different. Humanity had a way of speaking that made other species uneasy. Their history was full of wars, rebellions, and victories against odds that no one else dared to face. So when Earth's voice suddenly went silent, the galaxy trembled. Commander Ethan Cole stood inside the control center of the orbital defense station. The huge windows gave him a view of Earth below, a blue and green sphere glowing against the black void. Normally, the planet was alive with traffic. Civilian ships moved to and from orbit, and communications were constant. But now everything was cut off. Transmitters were shut down. Beacons went dark. To the outside galaxy, Earth had vanished. Ethan's jaw was tight as he read the sealed orders again. He had served in the military for 20 years, and never before had he seen these instructions used. The protocol of silence, a plan whispered in training, a warning to enemies and a nightmare to friends. If Earth went silent, it meant something terrible was about to happen. It meant humanity was preparing for war. Captain Laura Davis entered the control room, her face pale but steady. She was younger than Ethan, but already known for her calm leadership. "The orders are confirmed," she said quietly. "Every transmitter is off. No signal is leaving Earth. We are dark." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then the galaxy knows. They will see this as a declaration." Laura crossed her arms and looked at the planet below. "Do you think they will come right away?" "They always do," Ethan answered. "The moment they believe we are weak, they will test us. They always have." Far away across alien space, news of Earth's silence spread like fire. On the planet Valen Prime, the ruling council gathered in their shining chamber. Their leader, High Chancellor Rithar, slammed his claws on the table. "The humans have gone silent. Do you know what that means?" Some of his advisors shifted nervously. "Perhaps it is nothing," one suggested. "Perhaps their machines failed." "No," Rithar hissed. "Humans do not fail, they plan. They are preparing for something. If we wait, we may regret it." Other factions, like the Cathari Empire and the Ardon Union, also debated. Some wanted to attack quickly, to break humanity before they could act. Others urged caution, reminding their people of past battles where humans had fought like demons and refused to surrender. No agreement was made, only fear and doubt. On the orbital station, Ethan watched his crew. Young soldiers sat at consoles, scanning for signs of movement beyond the solar system. Some whispered to each other, frightened of what was coming. Ensign Daniel Harris, barely 23, stared at the quiet monitors. He remembered the last broadcast Earth had sent before the silence, a message of unity, showing cities alive, armies mobilizing, and ships preparing. It had not been a farewell. It had been a warning. Daniel turned to Laura. "Captain, why do we have to be silent? Wouldn't it be better to speak, to show strength with words?" Laura placed a hand on his shoulder. "Words are for peace, Daniel. But when words are wasted, silence is stronger. The galaxy will imagine what we are planning. Their fear will grow larger than anything we could say." Ethan listened but said nothing. He knew Laura was right. Silence was not weakness. It was the storm before the strike. Back on Earth, preparations were underway. Massive warships rested in hidden bays beneath mountains and oceans. Soldiers trained in secret bunkers, their drills endless, their weapons sharp. Factories shifted from civilian goods to machines of war. Families were evacuated from high-risk zones quietly and quickly. No news was given to the galaxy. Only silence. In the underground command bunker, leaders from across Earth sat around a steel table. Generals, admirals, and representatives of the United Earth Council spoke in low voices. Some argued for a defensive stance, to wait for the galaxy to make its move. Others demanded a first strike to show humanity's power before enemies gathered. Laura was there, her hands folded in front of her. "We cannot strike first," she said. "If we do, we prove their fear correct. We must let them come. And when they do, we must remind them why humanity cannot be broken." General Marcus Lane, a heavy-set man with a scar across his face, shook his head. "If we wait, we risk too much. The Valen are aggressive. They will send fleets. We must be ready to destroy them the moment they cross the line." The room fell silent. Every leader there knew the truth. Earth's silence was both shield and sword. How it was used would decide the fate of billions. Meanwhile, among the stars, fear spread further. Traitors whispered in shadowed docks. Soldiers on alien worlds prepared for orders they did not understand. Families on distant planets prayed their leaders would not provoke the humans. But fear alone could not stop ambition, and soon fleets would begin to move. On the defense station, Ethan stood by the window watching the stars. He felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. Humanity had always been underestimated, always seen as too young, too reckless, too fragile. And yet time after time they had endured. Now the galaxy would test them again. He clenched his fists. If war was coming, then the silence would be broken not with words but with fire. Across the galaxy, the silence of Earth spread like a shadow. No one could ignore it. For centuries, humans had sent signals into the stars, their voices full of noise, pride, and life. Now there was nothing. Civilizations listened harder, fearing what that nothing meant. They knew it was not an accident. Humans did not simply fall quiet. If they were silent, it was because they chose to be. On the orbital defense station, Commander Ethan Cole studied the latest reports. The screen showed intercepted transmissions from alien networks. Panic was clear in every word. Governments demanded answers. Spies sent warnings. Armies mobilized. Ethan turned to Captain Laura Davis, who stood by his side. "They are moving faster than we thought," he said. Laura nodded, her eyes steady but thoughtful. "The Valen are already discussing fleet deployment. The Cathari are arguing in their war councils. Even the neutral worlds are nervous. Our silence is not only feared, it is also tempting them. Some will see this as a chance to strike." Ethan leaned forward, resting his hands on the table. That is what the protocol is meant for. To see who will act first. To see who believes humanity is weak. Then we answer. Down in the communication wing, Ensign Daniel Harris listened to the scattered chatter of alien transmissions. He could not understand every word, but the tone of fear was clear. He imagined worlds full of people looking at the stars, whispering about Earth. He felt both pride and fear in equal measure. Pride because his world made the galaxy tremble. Fear because he knew the cost of that fear would soon be blood. On Valen Prime, the High Chancellor gathered his military leaders. Their voices clashed in anger. Some demanded immediate attack on Earth, claiming that silence was the sign of weakness. Others shouted for patience, reminding them of the battles humanity had survived. "If we strike too soon, we may be destroyed," one general warned. But ambition was stronger than caution. The Valen decided to send ships to the Sol system. Not to attack openly, but to test, to measure humanity's response. Meanwhile, on Earth, the underground bunkers buzzed with tension. Generals argued over maps and strategies. General Marcus Lane pressed his hand against the table, his voice heavy. "The Valen will not wait long. We must prepare the first response," Laura Davis spoke firmly. "We cannot show fear, but neither can we rush. If they come, we wait. If they strike, we answer." Ethan Cole supported her. "We need unity. If we divide now, the galaxy will sense weakness, and weakness is death." The council fell into uneasy silence. Every leader in the room knew what was at stake. Humanity had been underestimated many times in history, but this was different. Now it was the entire galaxy that waited to see what the humans would do. In hidden factories beneath oceans and mountains, workers labored without rest. Ships were being armed, weapons installed, shields tested. Families above carried on with daily life. Unaware of the storm gathering beyond the stars, soldiers drilled in silence, their boots striking the ground in perfect rhythm. The entire planet was preparing, every man and woman a part of the greater design. Daniel Harris found himself walking the corridors of the defense station late at night. The hum of machines was the only sound. He paused by a window, staring out at the blackness of space. Somewhere out there, fleets were gathering. He whispered to himself, "They think we are weak. They think silence means fear, but they do not know us." On the Cathari homeworld, council members argued loudly. Their species had long hated humanity, jealous of their growth and influence. Some called for an alliance of worlds to crush Earth before it acted. Others feared the risk. An old Cathari warlord growled, "Every time we think them weak, they rise like fire. Remember the colonies they defended. Remember the fleets they broke." But still, ambition pressed forward. The galaxy was restless. Back on the station, Laura Davis stood with Ethan Cole in the command center. The stars beyond the window seemed closer now, as if watching. "Do you think we can hold them all off?" she asked quietly. Ethan did not answer right away. He thought of Earth's long history of ancient wars, of battles fought in trenches, in skies, and across oceans. He thought of the spirit that had carried humanity through every trial. Finally, he said, "We will not need to hold them all. We only need to remind them once. One battle is enough to make them remember why they fear us." Far from Earth, alien merchants whispered to each other in spaceports. They traded rumors like precious metal. Some claimed Earth was building weapons the galaxy had never seen. Others swore the silence meant Earth had collapsed, its governments torn apart. No one knew the truth, and that made the fear stronger. The mystery of silence was more dangerous than open threats. Ethan received word that a fleet of Valen ships had moved into deep space, heading slowly toward Sol. The crew of the station grew tense, whispering as the news spread. Daniel Harris clenched his fists when he heard. He knew this was only the beginning. He knew that silence would not last much longer. Laura stood before the crew, her voice calm but powerful. "Remember who you are. You are human. The galaxy fears us because they remember our strength. If they come, we do not falter. If they strike, we strike harder. We do not break. We do not surrender." The young soldiers straightened in their seats, their fear turning into determination. Silence was no longer just an order. It was a weapon. It was the shadow of something greater. On distant worlds, alien leaders felt the weight of that weapon pressing on them. Some grew cautious, retreating into defense. Others grew bold, daring to believe humanity's silence meant their time had come. The galaxy stood on the edge of war, its fate balanced on the choices of humans. And through it all, Earth remained quiet. No signal left its skies. No voice carried into the stars. Only silence, deeper and heavier than anything the galaxy had ever known. But that silence was alive. It was waiting. And the galaxy feared what would come when it finally ended. The first movement came quietly. 30 Valen warships slipped into the Sol system, their dark hulls hidden against the black of space. They believed their presence would go unnoticed. But Earth was watching. Every satellite, every hidden sensor, and every human eye on the defense station tracked their approach. The galaxy thought silence meant blindness, but silence meant focus. Humanity saw everything. Commander Ethan Cole stood tall in the command center of the defense station. Around him, young officers whispered in low voices. Fear pressed on them like a heavy weight. But beneath that fear was a spark of determination. Captain Laura Davis stepped forward and looked at the glowing display of the system. Small lights marked the positions of the incoming Valen fleet. Her voice was calm when she spoke. "They are testing us. They think we will not answer." Ethan's eyes narrowed. They will learn otherwise. On Earth, hidden bases came alive. Warships rose from beneath oceans, breaking through waves with fire and thunder. From mountains, hangars opened, and sleek black ships took flight into the night sky. In underground tunnels, soldiers marched in silence, their boots echoing like drums of war. The protocol of silence was still in place. No words left Earth, only action. Ensign Daniel Harris sat at his console, his hands tight on the controls. His screen showed the incoming Valen cruisers breaking past Mars orbit. He swallowed hard. "Commander, they are in range," he said. The command center grew still. Every officer waited for Ethan's order. Outside the station windows, Earth glowed beneath them, silent and beautiful. Ethan's voice finally broke the silence. "Hold." The Valen ships moved closer, their scanners sweeping. They saw nothing unusual, no signals, no movement. To them, Earth looked defenseless. The alien admiral of the Valen fleet, Korath, smiled from his command chair. "They are weaker than the stories say. This will be easy." But Korath's smile faded when hundreds of human ships ignited their drives at once. They had been hiding in the shadows, dark and waiting. Now the sky blazed with light as human warships roared to life. Missiles launched in silent arcs. Lasers cut across the void. The trap was sprung. The Valen fleet broke into chaos. Cruisers spun to meet the attack, but they were too slow. Human ships struck with precision, targeting engines, weapons, and command centers. In minutes, half the Valen force was torn apart. Fireballs lit the black of space brighter than stars. Daniel Harris shouted, his voice filled with shock and pride. "Direct hit!" "The fleet is breaking." Laura Davis raised her hand. "Do not let any escape without remembering us." The battle raged fiercely. Ethan stood calm, giving orders with sharp precision. "Focus on the lead cruiser. Leave survivors enough to carry word." Within 20 minutes, the battle was over. The Sol system was quiet again, but wreckage drifted through space, glowing with fire and death. Of the 30 Valen ships, only 7 limped away, engines burning, fleeing back into the stars. They carried the story of what they had seen. Earth was not weak. Earth was waiting. On the command deck, the young officers erupted in cheers, their voices breaking the heavy silence. But Ethan raised his hand and the cheers stopped. His voice was steady. Do not celebrate. This was only the beginning. Others will come. We must be ready. Laura walked to the wide window and looked out at the stars. The message has been sent. The galaxy will know what happened here. They will talk about this battle and their fear will grow. Daniel sat back in his chair, breathing hard. He thought of the silence again. It was more than an order. It was a weapon sharper than any blade. The Valen had walked into the shadow of that silence and they had been broken. Far away on Valen Prime, High Chancellor Rethar listened to the reports with disbelief. His eyes burned with rage as the images of shattered ships played across the screens. They destroyed us in minutes. 30 warships crushed? Impossible. His generals bowed their heads in shame. The humans, they were ready. They waited in silence and we fell into their trap. Rethar's claws clenched the table. Then the stories were true. The silence is not weakness. It is death. Across the galaxy, word of the battle spread like fire. On the Cathari world, leaders grew pale as they watched the reports. On neutral worlds, merchants and citizens whispered in fear. Everywhere, the same truth settled into the hearts of alien races. Earth had gone silent, but in that silence, humanity had prepared for war. Back on Earth, the Council gathered in their underground chamber. General Marcus Lane slammed his hand on the steel table. You see now? They will not stop. They will send more. We must strike first before the galaxy unites against us. Laura Davis spoke firmly. We cannot attack blindly. We must defend and we must endure. If we attack first, we confirm their fear. If we wait, we control it, Ethan Cole agreed. Silence has already won us this battle. It will win us the next. Let them come to us. Let them waste their fleets against our strength. The debate grew heated. Some wanted war across the stars, others wanted defense. But all knew the same truth. The galaxy would not forget what happened. More fleets would come, and Earth would be ready. On the defense station, Daniel Harris sat at his console long after the battle ended. He replayed the moment the human ships lit up the void, 1,000 engines blazing as one. It felt like the heartbeat of an entire world. He whispered to himself, they will never understand us. They think silence is fear, but it is the sound before the storm. Ethan Cole walked through the quiet halls of the station, his mind heavy. He knew this victory was only the start. More enemies would come, stronger and angrier. But he also knew humanity's spirit. He knew that silence was not the end. It was the beginning. And when the silence broke, the galaxy would see fire. The wreckage of the Valian fleet still drifted through space when the news spread. Across alien worlds, the battle was retold in whispers and shouts. 30 warships had entered Sol, and most had been destroyed within minutes. Only a handful of survivors had returned, their ships scarred, their voices shaking with terror. They carried the same story. The humans had waited in silence, then struck like lightning. In the great halls of the Kothari Empire, council members shouted at one another. Some demanded immediate war, insisting that if humanity was not crushed now, it would grow too strong. Others feared the cost. An elder counselor pounded the table with his staff. We saw what happened to the Valen. Do you want the same fate for our fleets? Humanity has made its silence into a weapon. We must think carefully before we act. But caution did not calm ambition. Rival species looked at Earth with both fear and hunger. Fear of destruction, hunger for the power they imagined Earth was hiding. Whispers of alliances grew. Some wanted to combine fleets to overwhelm humanity. Others wanted to step back and let rivals burn themselves against the humans. The galaxy was divided, but all agreed on one truth. Earth could not be ignored. On the defense station, Commander Ethan Cole stood with Captain Laura Davis as new reports came in. Maps of alien space glowed on the wall, lines of movement showing fleets gathering on distant worlds. Ethan studied them with narrowed eyes. They are debating, but they will not debate for long, he said. Laura folded her arms. The Valen defeat will push some to attack quickly before the fear spreads too deep. Others will wait. That gives us time, but not much. Ensign Daniel Harris listened from his console. His fingers moved nervously over the controls. He wanted to believe Earth was safe, But he had seen how quickly the Valen had moved. He looked up and asked, "What if they all come at once? What if the entire galaxy unites?" Ethan's voice was steady. "Then we show them why they fear us. Humanity has faced worse odds before. This time will be no different." On Earth, in the underground bunkers, the United Earth Council gathered once more. The chamber was heavy with tension. General Marcus Lane's voice echoed through the room. "The Valen will not stop. Others will come. We must strike first before they gather their strength. If we wait, we give them time to unite." Laura Davis stood and spoke firmly. "If we strike first, we prove their worst fears true. We cannot give them that. We must defend and endure. Silence is our weapon. Let them come to us and we will break them one by one." The council was split. Some sided with Marcus Lane, others with Laura Davis. Ethan Cole finally rose to speak. His calm voice filled the room. "Humanity has always been strongest when tested. The galaxy does not fear our words. It fears our survival. We have faced invasions before. We will face this one too, but we must not be the ones to fire first." His words carried weight, and for the moment the council held back from ordering an attack. But the arguments did not end. Every leader knew that silence could not last forever. The galaxy was moving, and soon the storm would reach Earth again. Meanwhile, alien spies crept through the outer systems, searching for weaknesses. They found none. Every human ship that moved was armed and ready. Every station scanned its skies with sharp eyes. The silence of Earth was complete, and it was terrifying. In the quiet hours of night, Daniel Harris walked through the corridors of the station. He paused by a window and stared at Earth below. The planet looked peaceful, but he knew that beneath its calm surface, millions of people were preparing for war. Families trained, factories built weapons, and children were taught that silence meant strength. He whispered to himself, "We are not afraid. We are waiting." On distant worlds, alien citizens grew restless. Some demanded their leaders stay away from humanity's war. Others shouted for blood, believing Earth's silence was an insult that could not go unanswered. Markets shook as traders refused to travel near Sol. Merchants whispered of fleets being built in secret. The galaxy felt the pull of Earth's silence, and it drove them toward both fear and madness. In the Cathari War Council, one of the younger generals leaned forward. "The humans cannot be allowed to dictate the galaxy with their silence. If we wait, they will grow stronger. We must gather our allies and strike together." The elder counselor shook his head slowly. "If you strike, you may not return." The Valen thought the same. They underestimated silence, and it destroyed them. Still, preparations began. Fleets gathered in secret. Weapons were sharpened. The galaxy was preparing for war, and Earth's silence was the center of it all. Back on the station, Laura Davis stood beside Ethan Cole in the command center. The stars beyond the glass seemed closer now, brighter and colder. Laura's voice was quiet but certain. "They will come again, and when they do, they will come in greater numbers." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we remind them again. One battle at a time until they understand." Daniel Harris listened, his heart pounding with both fear and pride. He had always thought silence was empty. Now he understood it was full of meaning, full of power, full of the promise of fire, and soon he knew that fire would come. The galaxy grew restless as weeks passed. The silence from Earth did not break, and that silence became heavier with each passing day. Alien fleets gathered in secret, and war councils debated endlessly. Merchants avoided human space. Families across distant worlds whispered of the humans, of their silence, of the destruction of the Valen fleet. Fear spread, but so did anger. Some races wanted to stay far from Earth, but others wanted to test humanity once more. On the defense station above Earth, Commander Ethan Cole watched the stars through the wide glass windows. He felt the pressure of waiting. Silence was their greatest weapon, but it was also a weight. His crew grew restless. Young officers asked when the silence would end, when Earth would finally speak. Ethan gave them the same answer every time. "We speak with strength, not with words. Wait." Captain Laura Davis understood his burden. She often walked the station halls, speaking calmly with soldiers, reminding them of their purpose. One evening, she found Ensign Daniel Harris staring at his console, his hands trembling. "You are afraid," she said gently. Daniel nodded. "Yes, Captain. Every night I dream of fleets coming through the dark. I dream of fire falling on Earth. The silence makes it worse. It feels like we are waiting for doom." Laura placed a hand on his shoulder. "Silence is not doom. It is choice. We choose not to waste words. We choose to prepare. Fear is natural, Daniel, but fear is also fuel. Use it to stay sharp. Her words gave him strength and he sat straighter. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe silence was more than just emptiness. Far away in the Grand Council of the Ardon Union, leaders shouted at one another. They feared what humanity's silence meant, but pride and anger made them bold. "We cannot bow to the humans," one counselor cried. "They destroyed the Valen, but that was only 30 ships. If we unite, we can overwhelm them." Others shook their heads, but the call for action grew stronger. The Ardon Union began preparing fleets in secret. On Earth, the Underground Council gathered once more. General Marcus Lane spoke with force. "The aliens are moving. We cannot sit forever. Silence has its use, but soon we must strike. We must show them the cost of threatening us." Laura Davis argued back, her voice calm but firm. "If we strike first, we lose the meaning of silence. We show them fear drives us. That is not the message we want. We wait, we endure. We answer only when they cross the line." Ethan Cole supported her. "Humanity is strongest when it defends. Let them come. Let them break against us. That is how silence becomes strength." The debate raged, but in the end the council agreed to hold the protocol of silence a little longer. Earth remained dark, its voice hidden, its power waiting. Days later, alarms rang through the defense station. Daniel Harris jumped from his seat as lights flashed red. "Fleet incoming," he shouted. Screens lit up with data. A massive force was entering Sol. Dozens of ships larger than before moving in formation. This time it was the Ardon Union. The command center filled with tense silence. Officers looked to Ethan. His face was hard as stone. "Hold position," he ordered. "Do not fire until they cross Mars orbit." Laura's voice was steady. "They will test us like the Valen did. They believe silence means fear. We will show them what silence really means." The Ardon fleet advanced boldly. Their admiral, a proud leader named Varon, sneered as his ships scanned the system. "Nothing moves," he said to his officers. "The humans hide in their silence. Soon their planet will be at our mercy." But when the fleet reached Mars orbit, space erupted. Hidden ships lit their engines. Hundreds of human warships surged forward from the shadows of moons and asteroids. Missiles streaked through the void, followed by beams of light. The silent trap was sprung again. Daniel shouted, "Direct hits! Their front line is breaking." The Ardon fleet fought back with fury. Their weapons blazed, and several human ships were struck and shattered. But Earth's fleet was vast and its coordination unmatched. Ethan gave his orders calmly, directing strikes with precision. "Cut their engines. Disable, do not destroy. Let them run with the memory of this battle." Laura's eyes never left the screen. "We need survivors to spread the truth. Total destruction is not the goal. Fear is." The battle lasted longer than the Valen clash, but the result was the same. Within an hour, the Ardon fleet was shattered. Broken ships fled into deep space, carrying tales of silence followed by fire. Once again, humanity had spoken without words. On alien worlds, the news spread quickly. 2 fleets had now been destroyed. The silence of Earth was no longer just fear. It was legend. Children of other species whispered about it at night. Soldiers hesitated when ordered to march against it. Leaders argued more bitterly than ever, some demanding peace, others demanding war. But none could ignore it. Back on Earth, the Underground Council met again. General Marcus Lane slammed his fist against the table. "Twice they have come, twice we have destroyed them. How many times must we wait? We should take the fight to them now." Laura Davis shook her head. "No. If we strike first, we lose control of the fear. Right now, they fear what we might do. That is stronger than anything we actually do. Let silence work for us." Ethan Cole added, "The galaxy is tearing itself apart in argument. They do not know whether to fight or flee. That confusion is our shield. We must not end it too soon." The council agreed to hold their silence once more. Earth would not speak. The galaxy would continue to wonder. Later, Ethan and Laura stood alone in the command center. The stars outside glittered coldly. Laura asked softly, "How long can we hold this silence?" Ethan answered, "As long as we must. Every day we remain silent, their fear grows. Every fleet that comes and fails, their doubt grows. In the end, silence will be louder than any weapon." Daniel Harris walked past them, tired but proud. He had seen 2 great battles, had felt the terror of waiting, and had witnessed the power of silence. He whispered to himself, "They thought silence meant fear. Now they know it means fire." And so Earth remained silent, its voice hidden, its power waiting. The galaxy listened to that silence, and in it they heard the promise of annihilation,